Hey
Hey.
guys, it's Paige and Reagan, and we're here with our Buy Your First Home series. This is our first session. We're going over deciding to buy your first home and finding your real estate agent.
Okay, so we are Paige and Reagan. I'm Reagan.
I'm Paige.
So we started Buy with Paige and Reagan's first time home buyer program because we're very passionate about helping people achieve their dreams of owning a home. We also believe that buying your first home is a big deal. It's exciting and a great investment, and our goal is to make the process as least daunting as possible, providing education and the support that you need.
Absolutely. So we have our partnership Buy with Paige and Reagan, and then we're also part of a real estate team called Rise Realty Group, and we're with Keller Williams Mullinex out of Norman, Oklahoma. And then these are just some fun pictures of us. That is me and my boyfriend, Boston. And then that is a picture of all of us girls together from the team. And then there's me and Reagan when we were starting our Buy with Paige and Reagan programs.
Yeah, and then that's also my boyfriend Tom. And so we also started this program because we feel like a lot of people that not just our age, but also our age don't know that they can buy a house. And we just want to
Exactly.
spread awareness that almost anyone can buy a house.
Yeah, and it's really more achievable than you think it is if you have a plan and you have someone helping you along the way. And so that's really what we want to do.
Yes, so let's get started.
Okay. So throughout our class series, we're going to be going through the book Your First Home by Gary Keller. Gary Keller is the founder of Keller Williams, so he knows a lot about real estate. And this book really just walks you through every step of the process. Here's a little map. This kind of shows you what we'll be going through every week. So first week is decide to buy and find your agent, and then we go through the rest. Throughout our series, you can see the dates here. If you're watching on YouTube, don't necessarily pay attention to those, but that's what we're going through every single week.
Yeah, sorry. Making sure. Okay, so the first step of buying a home is deciding to buy. Becoming a homeowner is a huge milestone. It means many powerful things. It's not just about a house, it's about securing your future, building your equity, and achieving financial stability.
The benefits of owning a home go way beyond just having the actual house and having a place of your own. You can build generational wealth through that. That's something you can pass down to your kids and your family. You get to achieve financial independence by owning a home. And then, like I said, you get a place that's yours. You can change it. You can do whatever you want, and you get to live there.
Yeah, real estate is the fastest way to build wealth in America. Homes have monetary value that grows every single year, so owning a home has a lot of financial benefits.
Absolutely. Okay, so what will buying a home do for you? Well, first, it's going to increase your net worth. It's going to build your equity, allow for tax deductions, and it's going to provide stability.
So, what is net worth? You might be wondering. Net worth is simply the dollar amount you get when you add up everything of value that you own, subtracted by everything that you owe.
And it's really just a measure of wealth. The and then according to the Federal Reserve Board survey of consumer finances, homeowners had a median financial net worth of about $255,000, while renters' net worth was only just 6,300. So you can see such a huge difference in just owning a home, what it does to your financial wealth. And it's because of the home that made that difference in those net worths. So
Awesome. So, what is equity? Well, equity is the portion of a home's value that you actually own, the money that would go into your pocket once you sold it, paid it off, and handled any of the selling expenses. Um, so basically, the reason that homeowners have more money than renters, when you're renting, you're paying your landlord and then the money's gone. When you're owning, you pay your mortgage, but then eventually, if you go to sell, whatever you've paid, you're going to make some off of.
you get back. Yeah. So there's two ways to build equity through home ownership. One is just simply through making your monthly mortgage payments. Like Reagan said, you pay those in and then they kind of stack up as equity and you get that back when you sell it. The second way to build equity in a property is through appreciation. And that's what we talked about before. It's the increase in a home's value year over year, which is generally determined by the local real estate market and any upgrades you've made to the home. So some upgrades can increase the value. And then of course, whatever time frame you're selling that house in is going to be dependent on how much it's worth.
Exactly. Kind of like how a burger at McDonald's is not a nickel anymore.
Every store not.
Is growing in value.
Yes.
So, this little graph over here, it'll show you if you bought for 200,000,
we're assuming appreciation of 4% a year, which is about the average.
Yeah. And so you would be 5 years later, your house would be at 240, and that's not including
Any
upgrades or if you added a room or whatever like that. Your principal paid is your mortgage payments made over the 5 years. And so that you would have almost 60 grand in equity just for owning a home for 5 years.
So that's just a little example of kind of how it builds up. And like we said, it can increase with upgrades too. So there also are some tax deductions for homeowners. So what even is a tax deduction? It's a tax incentive given by the government that reduces the taxable income through things as expenses. So you get to, in the US, you get to write off all of the interest that you pay on your mortgage payments. So that's an added expense and you get to write it off.
Yeah, that's a huge deduction. And then, so the next one is your capital gains tax, a tax based on the growth of the value of the asset at the point at which it's sold. So if you own and live in a home as your primary residence for 2 out of the last 5 years, you do not have to pay any capital gains tax when you sell the property.
Which is super exciting. And then the last one is in the state of Oklahoma only, but it allows for a $1,000 tax exemption of the assessed value of your primary residence. And the homestead exemption is really beneficial because it protects you from losing your home in case you were to ever get sued, but it also gives you that tax incentive. So it's a really good thing to file and save some money on.
Okay, we're going to be busting some fears and myths you have about buying a home or that you might have. The first one is I can't afford to buy a home right now. So until you do the math, you don't know what you can or can't afford. And if you're paying rent, you generally can afford to buy a house. Granted, if you're splitting rent with 5 roommates, you might not be able to afford a house, but that's just something you don't know until you know. So.
Exactly. And so you can see on this little example, this is over the course of 5 years. So we're assuming that a rent payment is $1,500 a month. Your tax benefits from that, nothing. Your appreciation from that, nothing. And then you're paying a landlord in total with deposits and assuming rent goes up a little bit, $94,614 over the course of 5 years. Now let's flip that and say you bought a home and you've owned it for 5 years. Your mortgage payment is $1,614 a month, which is not that much more than your rent payment. And remember, you get to write off any of the interest. So let's say the payment was $1,500 and the interest calculates for that extra $114. Your payment's actually the same as your rent. So anyway, you have tax benefits of $12,000, appreciation about $39,000, and then you're making a profit when you sell the house of $56,000. So a stark difference from renting. I think it's really important to say that there's nothing wrong with renting. Reagan and I both rent, and it's just what you do whenever you're trying to build up to buy or to if you're in a financial space where it makes sense. There's nothing wrong with it, but if you can afford to buy and you're going to be in a place for a long time, it's especially important.
It's a very good investment. And to really know the math and if you can or can't afford it, you need to meet with a lender, and we're going to be going over that next time. And we'll go in depth with that, but remember that lenders will help you with that.
Okay, so the second fear that we hear kind of often is that you should wait until the real estate gets the real estate market gets better to buy. The truth is that there's really never a wrong time to buy the right property. And what we mean by that is that markets are cyclical. They go up and down. They're constantly changing. And so there's never really going to be a perfect market to buy in. It's really just the market that you're dealing with when you're ready to buy. They all have pros and cons. For example, let's take the market in 2022 when prices were high, interest rates were really low. They were at 2 and 3%, but there was so many multiple offers that buyers were having a hard time getting houses. Now flip that to later in 2023 after we saw a few rate increases. Sellers were paying more closing costs, but payments were higher because rates were higher. So pros and cons to each.
And then the third one is that you don't have the money for a down payment. There are plenty of down payment assistance options available, and also programs for first-time home buyers, which is what we would help you get, hopefully. You can put as little down as 3% on a home, which is a very low down payment. And what is that? On a $200,000 house, 3% down is what, like $8,000, which is a lot of money, but you can save it up pretty easily if that's what you want to do.
Right. Or there's also down payment assistance options if you qualify for them. That 3% though is really amazing because in the past it's been required that a 20% down payment was made. And so now that we have these 3%, 3.5% options, that's really great for first time home buyers.
Okay, the next one is I can't buy a home because my credit score isn't good. Your credit score does not have to be perfect. There's usually two issues with credit: poor credit or no credit. They're not going to necessarily stop you from buying a house. There are options of credit repair and co-signers. It's super important to work with a great lender who offers credit repair and is familiar with first-time homebuyer options as well. That's also something we're going to be going over next week.
Okay, so then the fifth one is that I can't afford to buy my dream home. Now we really need to talk about this because your first home is not meant to be your dream home. According to NAR, which is the National Association of Realtors, 78% of first-time home buyers had to compromise when they were buying their first home. Now, that means that you may not get everything you want in a perfect home because buying a home, building equity to turn around and buy a nicer, better home is the way to go that gets you to that dream home eventually.
Yeah, we always we call it the house hacking method to get to your dream home faster. So if you bought, let's say there was 3 things you wanted and you decided to go after those 2, and you wanted the location and the bedrooms, and then you live in it for 2 years, you do some upgrades or whatever you feel like doing to the house, make it a little better, you're going to appreciate about 4% both years. And then you can sell it, and you're going with that equity, you can afford to buy that house that had the third thing that you did have to compromise on. We can go a little bit more into detail. If you guys have any questions about that, please feel free to reach out. But that is usually a method that we strongly recommend.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so the sixth one is that I should wait to buy a home until I'm sure of my domestic future. Now, 37% of home buyers, first-time home buyers, are single, so you don't necessarily have to be settled down or be ready to start a family to buy a home. Anybody can buy a home. As long as you're going to live in a place for at least 2 years, it makes sense to do it. So don't worry about having everything figured out.
Yeah, and then the last one that we hear pretty often is I need to pay off my student loans before buying a home. Student loan debt does not prevent you from buying a home. It is important to pay them and pay them on time because it could impact your credit score, but they do not need to be paid off. And we've heard that a few times, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah.
You can still buy a house.
Yep. Okay, so next we're going to talk about finding your real estate agent. So a real estate agent's job is not just about finding you the right home. We listen to your needs, we anticipate problems, we maintain standards. It's really our responsibility to undertake the before and after process of the before showing the home, because that's really where our job starts and we go to work for you. It's not just opening doors, it's everything before and after that too. So
Yeah, there's a bunch of shows out there that show real estate, and I am not judging. I love to watch them, but that's our jobs aren't that easy. We don't get to just walk in a $1 million property and then it's sold. That's not
Yeah.
how it works.
No.
So we just wanted to kind of explain to you that why finding your agent is important, because you want to find someone who's going to work for you, not just work for your money. So
Yes. Very good point, Reagan. Okay, so what does a real estate agent even do? Well, first, we're going to educate you about your market. So, it is our job to stay up to date on what's going on in the market. What are the conditions? What do rates look like? All of those things. We're going to educate you on them. We feel really like it's really important to make sure you guys know what's going on when you're buying a house. Then we're going to analyze your wants and needs. This is usually when we sit down for a consult and we're going to go through really in depth. What does your lifestyle look like? What are you needing to purchase? What locations do you need to be in? How far do you have to travel to work? All of those things to really understand you and what your needs are.
Yeah. And we will hold a free consult that's free. So, and then that's where we like walk you through our market and the whole process. Will go a little bit more in depth than we will here, and make that plan. We kind of talked about that at the beginning. We want to make everyone a plan. It's the easiest way you're going to buy a house is if you have the plan to do it. And so, yeah, so after we do the analyzing your wants and needs, we start guiding you to homes that fit your criteria. Obviously, we want you to send us the houses you like, but it's also our job to be looking every day, and we will send houses to you that we think match your criteria. And we can usually find good deals or notice if something's not a good deal. So and then let's say you find one, we love it. This is when we also get to work, is when we start to negotiate on your behalf. We're going to try to get you the best deal possible. We're going to try to save you the most amount of money as possible and make sure you're making a good investment.
Absolutely. And then as we're in that under contract process, like Reagan said, that's really where we start to go to work negotiating. And then we're also making sure that all of our paperwork's correct and we're on time with deadlines. On our team, we actually employ a broker and a transaction team that oversees the paperwork, double checks it, make sure that everything's great and on time. So it's a really great service to look for too when you're looking for an agent. And then our job is really just problem solvers, putting out any fires that come up during the process, keeping your best interests in mind, and then kind of working together with all of our other professionals. It's not just your agent, there's actually a whole team that works for you when you're buying a house. So let's talk a little bit about that.
So as a buyer, you'll have an agent, and then the house that you're buying will have a seller's agent. We communicate a lot with them, trying to figure out the best win-win solution for everyone. And then there's also the lender or loan officer that I mentioned that helps you with your funding and your finances. And then we have an appraiser who will come out and look at your property and determine the value of your property to make sure you're not overpaying. And then we have the inspector come out, and he's the one that's going to go through everything and basically give you a book report of everything that's wrong with the house, but some are tiny little things and some are major things. And that's also where we work for you, is helping you figure out what needs to be fixed and what is not as important.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then during that inspection phase, when we have that inspector come out, we also may need to have some contractors out. Let's say there's something on the inspection report that you're curious about, and we have a vast network of vendors and contractors that we work with and we know personally, so that we can get someone out there to look at the house for you, whatever kind of needs you need. So we have those people on our team as well. And then you're gonna have your closing coordinator or your title closer. Those are your escrow officer. So those are all at title. Those are the people who are doing your abstract. They're looking at your title work. This is where you close at. So this is part of your team as well. And our job is just to coordinate with all of these people and make sure everybody's on track. We're all on the same page and we're ready to get you your first house.
Exactly. What is a buyer representation agreement? So in Oklahoma, it's called a buyer broker agreement. And it's a document that states that any home you buy, you will buy with the help of your agent during the length of the agreement. It also discusses how your agent gets paid. We usually do get paid from the seller. The there's times where we have to negotiate that or figure that out, but that will all be in the buyer broker.
Which is why it's so important to have one. And really it's important to have a buyer's agent. You want someone on the transaction that represents you, because like we learned on the last slide, there's two agents involved. There's a seller's agent and a buyer's agent. So you want someone that's representing you and someone that's representing the seller. So it's really important to have this agreement in place so that you have an agent working for you. They spell out exactly what duties we do and what you can expect. And then they also give us confidence that all of our work doesn't go unpaid, because we don't get paid until we're at the closing table. And so this is just an agreement saying that we really are your agent. We know what you need. We're working together. So it's really a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, all in all, a buyer representation agreement, a buyer broker, is a mutual written commitment that clarifies the working relationship, and it is truly a win-win for everyone. So
Yep. Okay, so that's all that we have for today. We will be giving away a free copy of this book. So if you guys text that number that's on the screen, you can enter to win into the drawing. And then those are some of our next class dates. And be sure to scan that QR code. It has our link tree with all of our social media, a chance to sign up for our other classes. Just get in touch with us. We have a lot of good educational stuff on our TikTok, so stay in touch. If at any point during this process you guys feel ready to have a consult and you're ready to sit down and get a customized plan for you to buy a home, get on that link tree and message us. We'd love to help you.
or if you have our numbers, call us. We want to be here for you. If you have any questions, message us. We're on Buy with Paige and Reagan Facebook. I think that's our Instagram handle too. That's our TikTok. You can find us anywhere. So
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so
Okay,
much.
bye.
Bye.